Okay, I'm at 3480 Linwood Avenue, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any root intrusion, any structural issues, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. We are going from a PVC stack here, right behind the, this is the hot water heater. It's the back of the basement there with a stationary tub, and here is a bathroom. Just a toilet right there. And then here is the stack. So, based on the age of the house, I'm expecting to see clay once we get down to the floor. And there we go. We're going straight into clay. It should be turning straight towards the front. And so you'll see a couple tie-ins and stuff along the way. This is the main part of the lateral that goes out towards the street. They have other branches that will tie in. Have a little bit of a turn here. Of course, the water, I wouldn't have a problem doing that, but my camera's a little rigid trying to make that turn. But clay is a very good material. It does last a very long time. In this case, it's probably close to 100 years old or so. The only problem that is real common with it is that there is a lot of root intrusion with clay, just because, as you can see, there's a joint about 3 feet or so. They're very close. So they were very small sections of pipe. They allowed them to make a lot of easy bends, where instead of having to use fittings, they would kind of jog a little bit, and it's a little tiny bit of root intrusion there. You can see it getting in right at that connection. So you should be able to push by that. Maybe we could tear it loose. I think I might have just tore it loose here. But it looks like there's root intrusion on the right. That's a very small amount, but it is something that you would want to monitor. Roots are very common, and doing maintenance on a sewer is something that's very common for a house this age with this material. Like I mentioned earlier, right before we saw the roots, this is a very common thing to find. And so we're going to be able to see a little better when we pull back and be able to get past all this stuff and get back. Yeah, see, now I have something stuck on the front of the camera there. Past it. So if nothing else, what we'll do is we'll get all the way out to the main as far as we can, and then we can, if we need to, we can run some water down the line, and that'll rinse off the camera head. But usually with inspection, it's a lot better on the way back because you're not pushing up against things onto the front of the camera. And so far the line looks really good structurally. There is obviously the roots, and we'll get a better look at those to be able to better evaluate the severity of it. They don't looks very minimal at this point, so you might be able to just use a chemical treatment to kind of keep those at bay for now, and then I would take another look in a few years just to see kind of how fast the roots are growing. It'll help you set up a maintenance schedule if it's needed. But I mean, for the most part, I know it's hazy on the camera, I can see, but okay. A little bit of an offset here as the pipe is dropping. As you can see on the bottom left-hand corner, this is a 25-degree, the camera's sitting at 25-degree angle, and then when it gets to the bottom where it straightens out there, it's pretty normal to find stuff like this on clay where the connection is just where they rotated the connection. There's a little bit of a lip there. It's holding a little bit of water, but there's not any solids in that spot. Now hopefully I don't have a problem. Hopefully I can get my camera to jump it. But based off the angle, it might be a little difficult to get it to go. Just because of, said you're kind of pushing this thing down into the angle. And so pushing it straight into that little lip, that connection. Yeah. I'm gonna run some water, see if that helps. Maybe able to pull it back and put a standoff on the camera to be able to get past that point. But we're gonna try to run some water first. Now, we are out 98 feet. So, what could be is I could go out and locate this spot and we could be off the property and we wouldn't have to really worry about much because it would be anything from this point on would be the responsibility of the Metropolitan Sewer District of Cincinnati. And so, I'll give it a shot a couple more times to see if I can get the camera to jump, and then before I try to go get a standoff for the camera, we'll locate this and just see where it is in comparison to the demarcation line between the private property and the sewer district's responsibility. So this is probably going to take a minute for that water to get down here. Some water. Should pick up. You can see that that connection does have some cracks and stuff in it. Probably has settled over the years. And so either way, I'm going to locate this spot just to see where it is. Right there. Yeah. Yep. Okay, well, one more shot. I'm going to pull this back straight here, and then I am going to pause the video and go out front and locate exactly where this spot is. Okay, so this line, this spot is actually in the street. It's just past the curb. So this is on the Metropolitan Sewer District. It's on their side of the property line, and so there is. You can see a crack. I mean, this isn't real uncommon for a 100-year-old pipe. This is something that they would not do anything about right now, as long as it's flowing and flowing freely. They would not touch this. But for future, if this ever does cause an issue, you can, show this. They'll probably want to re-camera it, but it would be something that you would have as proof that there was an issue when the house was bought, or not an issue, but that this part has been present. And so if there's any, if something happens in the future, you know that it's not on private property. It is on them to repair this. And they'll usually give you up to like 10, 15 feet onto the property. And so, because you can see there is some cracking and stuff going on where this is settled. But this isn't, and when they come down the hill like this, it's not uncommon to find stuff like this. So I'm going to pull back and we'll inspect it, and then I'm going to put a standoff on the camera, and we'll try to push back past there just to try to get a look past that 98-foot mark, even though we are in the, we are off the property, just just so we are able to get the whole line. We'll at least make an attempt to get past that point. And so we'll take a slow walk back here as we return, and then when I push back out, I'll push back out rather quickly since this has already been inspected. But structurally, the line looks really good. All the joints are nice and tight. Again, like we talked about, there's some minimal root intrusion, and that can be handled with regular maintenance. And the root intrusion is all up really close to the house or under the house. So I think most of the trees are around back. Here we are, so 46 feet. And that is this one is the biggest spot. I mean, it's still, that's still considered minor root intrusion, but it is starting to get down into the flow line. If you can see where the water is running, it's called the flow line, where the water, the channel in the middle of the pipe. You know, you can see like a wet mark on the side of the pipe. That's about as high as water ever gets in these pipes, especially the 6-inch clay. But since that's starting to grow down in there, that's what I was talking about, you know, trying to use some chemical, trying to run through like a cutter head in these won't do a whole lot. You would go right past it and not even probably notice it. And so running such a small amount of roots, you can try to treat it with some Root X, and that will usually burn, you know, kind of burn back the roots with the chemical and keep them from growing any further. And you should die off and fall down the pipe into the main. But again, it is something you would want to maintenance, and something you would want to, you know, maybe take another look at in 3 to 5 years. You know, have it scoped again and just kind of check to see how fast the roots are growing and give you a little bit better maintenance schedule. Let you know if you got to do something, you know, once a year with the chemical, or if you can wait 5 to 10 years in between. It's all just kind of depends on the tree and the situation, and then using a chemical a lot of times can help negate that. Over the long term, keep you from having to do anything major. And I don't know what the chemical cost anymore. It used to be like $35. It wasn't real expensive. And if you did that once a year, just as a precautionary measure, just read the directions on the bottle and see if you can get it to, and then this should give you a little bit of time to, you know, and hopefully it won't ever, you won't ever have to do anything major to it as far as even having a clean. And so I have that standoff on the camera, which just holds it up just a little bit, and I'm limited with that standoff. I'm limited as to like how big of a standoff I can put on the camera because of the opening in the side of the pipe. So there we go. So I'm going to go out to about 98 feet and see if we can get past that point. Hopefully it holds the camera head up just enough to get over that lip. like it did. Okay, there we go. So that was just enough to get me over that lip. I thought it was. There it goes. Okay. Now from here on out, if we do find anything, it would just be something that we would report to the sewer district. We should only be about a few feet off the main now. We're getting very close, and there we are. This is dropping down into the main. There we go. So, good news is the only thing we found was that little lip, and it's not causing a current issue. And if it ever does cause an issue in the future, it would be the responsibility of the sewer district to fix. You would just have to call them, and they would come out and camera the line from the main. So they would use a crawler. It's like a robot, and they would send a camera up the line backwards to check for these issues. And then once they found this spot, I did mark it with green paint just for reference, and I'll take a picture of that. And that would be another thing that you could provide to the sewer district if a problem ever comes up. And that way you have proof that it's been here for a while. And there's that spot again. So we're going to see if we can kind of get that water on the camera. So, but yeah, the line looked great structurally. The only issue we found is that one little spot that is not your responsibility. And just a little bit of chemical should get rid of the roots in the line enough to where there shouldn't be anything you have to worry about. Again, I would recommend probably doing the chemical like once a year or something. I would do it when you first move in, just as a warm and fuzzy, and then make you feel good about it. And then from there, do it maybe once a year. If it makes you feel better, you can do it more often than that. But this is a very minimal amount of root intrusion. And as long as you keep on it, those roots won't cause any major damage. But when you let them go for long periods of time, that's when they can grow thicker, and they can actually, do structural damage to the line. Most of these get in at the connections, and when they do, it's usually because of age of the packing around the joints, and so they loosen up and leaves a small gap, and so the little finger roots get in there for food and water. And then you just want to make sure they stay small. This is all normal, regular maintenance on a 100-year-old or more house. Okay, so we made it all the way back, and we're out of the line. So, yeah, just to sum everything up, you have a little bit of roots that you would want to maintenance with some chemicals pretty soon, and then maybe once a year, and then have the line rescoped in a few years to kind of check to see how the root growth is, and give you a better idea of how often you might want to maintenance the line. But structurally, the line looked good. The one spot at about 98 feet that did have a little crack in the hub of a connection, but wasn't holding any solids, so it wasn't obstructing flow at this point. But if that is ever an issue, that is off the property and should be taken care of by the Metropolitan Sewer District. But the line is open and flowing at time of inspection, so that will end the inspection at 3480 Linwood Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio.